Hey everyone, Brian Christman here again, talking about my Kierkegaardian readings of the Gospel of Mark. The last video I asked the question, because I feel like there's two audiences for my book, in a sense, or people coming from different perspectives. The more philosophical, existential people, and the more biblical, evangelical people. So the last video I asked, the existentialist might say, why Mark? So now I want to consider the evangelical who will ask, why Kierkegaard? So I have a few thoughts, and the first thought is really just that, like an evangelical, like a good evangelical, Kierkegaard believed in attacks. He's famed for his attack on Christendom. But his attacks, and actually like evangelicals should know, attacks are not for the sake of battling, for the sake of attacking. They're for the sake of, Kierkegaard loved the word upbuilding. They're for upbuilding in truth. His attack on Christendom was, only for the sake of true faith and true practice in Christianity. But let's consider this attack on Christendom. There's actually three things that I want to point out today of why the evangelical needs Kierkegaard, and things that he will not have. If he doesn't know Kierkegaard, he won't know these things, obviously, but he may know these things I'm going to mention. The first is the attack on Christendom. Part of that attack on Christendom was because he used the term the crowd a lot. There's the crowd, the mass men, the herd. The public. We're very much, should know a lot about the crowd these days with social media and the politicalization of everything. So the crowd in Denmark, if you were born there, you were a Christian. It's just so you have crowd faith. It's just the faith of the crowd, which is really, the crowd is not. There's no individuals in the crowd. They're just mass men. They just follow the herd instinct. They really have no faith per se. Faith is not just something you get from being born somewhere or from going along with the crowd in your native country. But the attack on Christendom was much more than just about personal faith or becoming an individual with faith. It was about the political idolatry, the religious idolatry of Christendom. So I can't get into all that, but literally, Christendom sets itself up as gospel faith, and it's the church-state synthesis is most often not, or I'd say historically never, has been true Christianity completely. So that's another issue. But the political idolatry, basically, I read a article the other day by Chris Barnett. It was about how politics is the religion of Americans today. It is the religion. And it's because the political system is our God that'll provide all the answers. It is our Savior. He didn't say those terms, but that was my way of framing it. So Kierkegaard was famous for his attack upon Christendom, and evangelicals are enamored with Christendom. They're addicted to Christendom. It's part of what makes many evangelicals, it's the thing. Christian America. It's all Christendom, really. So another attack of Christendom was, I would call his attack on objectivity. Now, objectivity is evangelicals know it as, like, from the book of James, faith without works. It's like you just believe in God, but you have no works, nothing to show that you believe. Kierkegaard called it cheap grace. Most evangelicals know that term through Bonhoeffer, but it actually originated from Kierkegaard, who influenced Bonhoeffer. He wrote about cheap grace in his book, Works of Love. This is a major, huge book. It's all based on the Gospels, about thou shalt love, the commands in the Gospels to love, and all different types of love, and what is love, and love as defined by God, not by man, not by Christendom. And so Kierkegaard was a Lutheran who thought Luther and Lutherans went too far in this grace without works, because they wanted to emphasize justification by faith, that they just kind of left out. I mean, Luther wanted to throw the book of James right out of the New Testament. So Kierkegaard, Bonhoeffer also wanted to correct that and bring it back to a more biblical faith that works by love, according to his book. His attack on objectivity was too well, there was a false philosophy. Enlightenment philosophy is all based on objective truth, objective science, this everything's objective. And well, it's not the case that it's really evangelicalism, and it is as much enamored with Enlightenment philosophy and modern objectivism as liberal philosophy. So Kierkegaard attacked that objectivity. And part of that attack on the objectivity was he said truth is subjectivity. He wanted a true subjective response, really just what James talked about with faith that works by love. Of course, that's Kierkegaard, but James has said faith that works, that is practical. So Kierkegaard was also about practice in Christianity, true practice in Christianity. That's got to do with faith and works, but it has to do also with what is the gospel. And he was for restoring the primitive gospel, meaning basically following Jesus as a disciple. It was as simple as that. Christianity became adopting cultural norms and the savior of the culture of Denmark, or Christ becomes subservient to Christendom, to the Christian culture. That's not, it should be following as a disciple, following Christ is primitive Christianity. So the third attack of Kierkegaard is what I call his attack on false subjectivity. I just mentioned truth is subjectivity, but he was all about true subjectivity. And false subjectivity is obviously it's our internal state in a sense, and the practices that flow from it. So he was all about, the big things we should know affecting everyone today, Christian or not, are anxiety and despair. So Kierkegaard wrote the concept of anxiety. Remember, this is mid-1800s or 1840-ish. The concept of anxiety. All about anxiety and how it affects us internally, subjectively. Then he wrote The Sickness Unto Death. And I would say that book's more anxiety. This is more about despair, all these different ways of despairing. And they're all ways of despairing of not being a self, not becoming a self, which to Kierkegaard, becoming a self was basically another way of saying becoming a true Christian, because he didn't see these things as separate. He thought if you became a true Christian, it created a certain character, it gave us spirit, it gave us the proper ways of being a self, which these are all, pretty deep things, so that I get into in my books. But basically, Kierkegaard attacked Christendom, attacked Enlightenment objectivity, which is what caused modernism, and then the postmodern reaction, and evangelicals are still caught in this modernistic thing of faith, which is very, brain-oriented, not body-oriented. It's one way to put it. And his attack on false subjectivity, which is really, you could say, false religion, false subjectivity. Atheism would fall under that, agnosticism. All types of false kind of demonic spirituality is something Kierkegaard talked about. Despairing, just the despairing ways of modern people. Kierkegaard brings that whole angle into the faith. And so, evangelicals today addicted to Christendom, compromised by objective Enlightenment philosophy, and falling short of true, what I'd say, holistic gospel faith, which is what Kierkegaard emphasized. Those are the things that Kierkegaard's attacks for upbuilding are good for. So Mark, in this Kierkegaardian reading of Mark, Mark, through the lens of Kierkegaard, delivers gospel faith. So hopefully I touched on these things enough to make some sense, and they're high points in trying to summarize Kierkegaard's approach. An attack, but it was always an attack for upbuilding in the true faith of the gospel. And taking Kierkegaard and Mark together, this ancient faith expressed in Mark's day, which actually dealt with many of the same things, exactly the same things in many ways, and Kierkegaard in the mid-1800s, who brings it into modernism, and then postmodernism was already beginning, and even with Kierkegaard to some extent, this makes a powerful presentation of the gospel for us today. And evangelicals need it. I hope that if you're an evangelical and you've watched this, you've seen it. If you're not an evangelical and you hate evangelicals, you may realize, well, in many ways, we're all addicted to Christendoms. We're all addicted to political solutions, whether one side or the other. It speaks to all of us today in this politicized society. So thank you for watching, taking time out of your busy day. And I know I've been over 10 minutes now, going on 12. So thanks for your patience. And I hope this whets your appetite for more in my Kierkegaardian Readings of Mark series. Thank you.